Welcome back to the Quick Focus Blueprint, and this is your coach, Jim Quick, and I want to congratulate you once again for showing up. I do believe that success doesn't happen just randomly. It doesn't happen as if by magic. It happens through consistency, and I want to really say how much I respect you for showing up because it shows that you have discipline. A lot of people value their freedom a lot, and they want to go out there and they want to have they don't want to have structure. They want to be a free soul. The challenge is they can't get themselves to do the things that they know that they need to do in the form of discipline. But I find if you can't get yourself to do the things you need to do, then you're really in a prison, right? And so for me, discipline equals freedom. And so I appreciate your discipline in showing up each day to build. Really, what we're talking about is the science of momentum, the science of momentum. Like we're doing this meta focus program, right? Meta focus is focusing on focusing, just like meta learning is learning how to learn, or meta thinking is thinking about your thinking. Meta means above. So we're thinking about how to focus on this thing called focus. And we're going to do this, for 30 days together, and we build this momentum, a little bit accomplished every single day. Doesn't seem like a lot, but as we talked about in one of the earlier sessions, the power of doubling a penny. You have 1 penny on day 1, you have 2 pennies on day 2, you have 4 pennies on day 3, you have 8 pennies on day 4. Doesn't seem like it's a lot, right? This little growth doesn't seem like it's very significant, but by day 30, you have over $5 million. And that's the power of compounding. And so we're doing something a little bit each day, making a little bit of progress each day. Might not seem a lot, but over the course of the first week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, we get you to the place that you want to go. So we talked about the power of having a journal, right? That if you want to have better focus, it helps to be able to reflect and to take notes. And we have your focus journal. We also talked about the power of goal setting, and we talked about GPA, right? G stands for goals, P stands for what? This is the interactive part, purpose, and the A stands for action. We also talked about it's not just what you do. Yes, your to-do list is very important. It's also what you should not do, right? The things you are not going to do. And so we talked about the power of your not to-do list, which is obviously very, very important because every time you say no to something, it gives you more time to focus on the things that you really need to do. We even talked about some of the best foods that you should not have and some of the best foods that you should have, the best foods you should avoid and the best foods you should add into your diet to improve your memory, improve your concentration, improve your focus. In this session, I am going to talk about another thing that detracts your focus and that holds you back, that could keep you distracted, and this is your negative self-talk. And this is something that's really pervasive, and some people aren't consciously aware of their self-talk because it's there all the time. It's kind of like a fish that's in water. They don't really notice the water because they're always in the water. Some people have a constant state of stress or anxiety or doubt. They live in a state of fatigue because that's what they're used to. And I think part of the contributing factor there is our negative self-talk, specifically the self-talk, that voice you hear inside your head that is the critic or is the squelcher or maybe puts you down and you're not really sure where it came from. Maybe it's saying to yourself something like, oh, I can never focus. Oh, I'm just a procrastinator. It's just who I am. I'm not smart enough. I'm not good enough. This person doesn't like me. Whatever the talk is that's talking your way out of success. And what I always tell people is that when you fight for your limitations, you get to keep them. When you're talking about how bad your memory is or how bad your focus is, and you have emphasis and you have emotion behind it, then it becomes an unconscious command to your supercomputer of a brain, and that's the program it will run. So when we're thinking about negative self-talk, Dr. Daniel Amen calls them ants. Automatic negative thoughts. So how do you kill those ants? So I want to help you to be able to rewire your brain to have a more empowering self-talk, right? Because your mind is always eavesdropping on your self-talk. Your mind is always eavesdropping on your self-talk. So I'm going to give you 4 things that you could do to greatly reduce your negative self-talk and replace it with something that's more empowering, more encouraging, that's going to help you to be able to focus on the things that you need to do. Because I think often one of the reasons why we don't achieve something is because we talk our way out of things, right? We have this habitual languaging inside of our mind, these affirmations that are actually negative, and it just takes us in places that we don't want to go. And so number one, before we get started, I'm going to give you this, and it's going to work like magic. Okay, it's going to literally, this is my metaphor for this is magic. But when you have self-talk, my principles for this is don't try to fight it, right? The more you tell yourself not to do something, the more likely is you're going to do it, because what you resist persists. So I would say don't fight it, and I would say don't fight for it, right? A lot of people fight for their limitations, as I mentioned before, and what you fight for is what you get to keep. And so we want to avoid that. So when I mention magic, this is how it works. I use this magical phrase, abracadabra. Abracadabra. And you know this, right? You've seen magicians, and they use that word. And the origin of abracadabra actually is derived from the Aramaic phrase that means I create as I speak. In Hebrew, it actually translates roughly to it came to pass as it was spoken. And so words have power, right? And so I want you to think about abracadabra, specifically the first four letters, and which are abra, A-B-R-A. And so if you want to resist, and when we're talking about resisting, persisting, if you want to eliminate your negative self-talk and replace it with something more positive, remember abra. The A stands for you want to acknowledge. So when you have negative self-talk, when you're saying something to yourself that is not necessarily true, but something that you believe that is not in your best interest, you don't want to resist it, right? Because it persists, but you want to acknowledge it. So acknowledge that it's there, because if you try to fight it, it'll just grow stronger. The B in ABRA stands for breathe. And we know that controlling your breathing keeps your mind and your body functioning at their best. It helps to lower your blood pressure, it promotes feelings of calm and relaxation, and it helps you to de-stress, all the things that rob you from your focus, right? And so what you're doing here is breathing is an automated process, right? It's part of your autonomous system, but by putting conscious thought into breathing, you could bridge that gap between your conscious and your unconscious. And that's where a lot of your genius actually lies. When you think about all the things that you're able to learn, a lot of the things that you learn, for example, words to songs, you know probably hundreds of them, but how many did you structurally sit down and formally study? Probably very few. You learn the best sometimes when you don't realize that you're learning, because your focus is natural, your flow is natural. And what gets you in that state is helping. One of the things that helps you to achieve that is by proper breathing. So conscious breathing. And so what I would do is when you have a negative thought, acknowledge it, and then breathe into that place of your body. Take a breath and breathe into that place of your body where you feel like that information resides, that thought that you have or that self-talk resides. Breathe into it. So you are basically breathing in what you want. You're breathing in positivity, you're breathing in focus, you're breathing in possibility, and then you're breathing out negativity. You're breathing out limitations. When you're exhaling, you're letting go of distraction or thoughts, anything in your life that's not serving your best self, right? So you acknowledge the thought, then you breathe into it, and you're breathing into it like with possibility and potential and power, and also you're breathing out whatever the limitation is for you. The R in ABRA stands for release, and that's exactly what you're doing. As you're breathing in what you want, you're releasing with your breath what you do not want, because you can't lead a positive life with a negative mind, right? So on the exhale, you're breathing out that limitation, that hurt, that helplessness, that identity that was in the past, that no longer really who you are. And so that's the R, is you release it and you let it go. And you feel a sense of relief when you release, right? You breathe it in and then you breathe it out. And finally, the last A in ABRA stands for align. Align. What does that mean? Well, once you acknowledge that you have this negative, automatic negative thought, and you breathe into it, and then you release it out with your breath, The A stands for align. You're using your imagination to create a new phrase or belief that is more aligned with who you truly are and what you truly want. Maybe it's your new alignment is, I have great focus. I learn things easily and effortlessly. I have an incredible memory. My focus is my gift. I really do have a quick brain. I am a fast learner, right? And you don't want to just say it. You want to really feel it. You want to experience it. So when you're aligning yourself, you're going back. You've cleared the clutter. You released it with your breath, and you're aligning to something that's more who you really are, your better self that you know that you have the potential to have. So you really experience it. You must step into this new belief, this new thought, this new experience, and see and feel and hear what it feels like to be in that place. And that, my friends, is the ABRA technique, and that's what you're going to do today. And so your homework is, when you have a negative thought, right? If you're trying, for example, to go for mindfulness training, and you want to be able to maybe fast and go on a negative cleanse, and when you have a negative thought, maybe you want to test yourself. Maybe you want to spend a few days, maybe the next 72 hours, to see how positive that you could be. And positive is not, I'm not talking about being unrealistic, right? But my experience has been with a lot of people is some people who say that they're realistic are really negative. And my goal for you is to be able to see things how they really are and have a vision for yourself for how things could really be. That's why we started with having a big focus goal, and tapping into your purpose. So your homework here is to challenge yourself to monitor your self-talk, to be able to stand guard to the gates of your mind, especially from the inside yourself. And when you have a thought that doesn't serve you, be conscious of it, because awareness alone can help you change things. And so once you do it, take yourself through the ABRA technique, acknowledge it, breathe into it, release it, and then align to that best version of yourself that we all know that is inside you, that you're capable of. I'll leave you with this. This is a quote that I get tagged in every single day, and it talks about the metaphor of an egg, that if an egg is broken by an outside force, life ends. If it's broken by an inside force, life begins. So all great things begin on the inside. And so talking about the inside, we're talking about your identity, we're talking about your values, we're talking about your beliefs, we're talking about the thing we're talking about now, which is your self-talk. So make it great, and I look forward to continuing this with you tomorrow.